Hello, man. Buenos dias, buenas tardes, buenas noches, or whatever is the time where you are right now. Trinidad and Tobago is one of these small islands in the Caribbean, actually very, very close to Venezuela, where I'm actually from. I lived there for over 3 years, and even if for different reasons I didn't end up like integrating into the society, I was able to learn and watch a bunch of their cultural expressions that, to be honest, for me were super curious, especially coming from a Hispanic background and looking to people that were acting so different, not only in the way that they speak to each other, but also from how different it is the way that they treat people. And something more curious for me was seeing the relationship between men and women in there, the dynamic from the relationship, the attraction game, and a couple of the rules that are usually established when you go into a relationship with someone. All of those things have like a different color to what I was already used to, and I experienced that from first hand when I got into a relationship with a local girl. So today I want to share with you a couple of the lessons that I learned dating in the Caribbean. My name is Jesus Noya and I'm a Venezuelan sex coach with the goal of helping men to last longer in bed, become sexually dominant and be more attractive. All this will avoid the deadly mistakes that I made through my sex life. This comes from my years of experience of dating in South America and all the struggles that I had to go through, like premature ejaculation, performance anxiety, and non-existent sexual confidence. Usually when you travel to a different country, there's a bunch of things that you can learn from their culture and the things that you see in there. But especially when you go like on a holiday, you always like the superficial part. But when you actually live there and see like face to face all the small things that people have to go through, you're able to get those valuable insights. And as I had the chance to live there, I want to share them with you. Just very quick, remember that if you're experiencing things like premature ejaculation, performance anxiety, and if you want to be able to accelerate the process for you to become a sex god, you can go and click the link in the description right now, and that way we can work together and make that reality for you as soon as possible. But now let's jump to the video. The first lesson that I learned as soon as I got into the dating scene, but also from seeing a lot of other relationships, was that basically all women in some way are turned on by the same. Even if Trinidad being such a small country and so close to Venezuela that it could easily be one of the islands from there, it was like a total different world when I just reached there. The population was mainly black people, Indians, or Syrians. They spoke English, but not even English like in a normal way, the way they used to hear like in videos, but with a very, very particular accent. Their religion, even if some of them were Christians, but to be honest, I didn't see them that much. Were mainly around Islam, Hinduism, and if something was Christian, it was like more of this Protestantism branch. It wasn't only about like the foods and celebration of the view, those kind of things that tourists usually focus when they travel to the next place. But for me, it was more shocking seeing how the values and the way that people act was so different. I traveled to countries, for example, like Colombia, Brazil, Ecuador, and Peru. And of course, they're very different from Venezuela. But the Spanish man, the Hispanic, and the woman has like a set of values and beliefs that are very common even if the distance is big. But with Trinidad, this wasn't the case, even if it was way closer than all these countries. And as I was living in the main city, the capital that is Port of Spain, I was able to see a lot of women, all of them very different. Old and young women, the black, the Indian, the Syrians, the rich girls, the poor girls, the little white girls that were in there, basically a lot of different women from all kinds. And by seeing this big difference in basically all things, it was very interesting seeing how the same tricks, the same behaviors, and the same patterns will still turn on a girl, will still attract them in some way. It's like it doesn't matter the background, there are some traits that are inherently attractive for women. As usual, as I already knew, those things ended up being the self-confidence, the charisma, and basically how much you can project that you're above that girl in some way. Kind of similar to Venezuela, I saw the same case with some pretty girls and even hot and beautiful women were dating guys that you wouldn't expect them to be there, like ugly, broke, junkies, and guys that didn't seem to have a future. If they were having those traits in some way, they were still fucking a lot. And yes, the dynamic changes and you can use exactly the same script or attitude towards all women. I couldn't go and say, hola bebé, ¿qué tal te va? Because they weren't even going to understand what I was saying. But if I was keeping that energy of being like charming, attractive, and flirty, confident, and always projecting like that cocky attitude, it was going to have the same effect. I just had to like calibrate it a little bit. And that sense of calibration is what actually got me to the second lesson, and that is that culture and religion in a place, in a country, can make a woman very, very different. And before I start to tell the story, let's make that difference, right? There's a difference between what is actually a woman attracted to, that is basically a general consensus for all women all over the world, apparently, at least from what I've seen, and that is how a woman reacts and how basically she acts in general, even when she's attracted, right? All women can be attracted to the same things, but the way that they're going to react to that attraction, that's where the difference comes in. And I found that a lot of that comes from those things, from culture and religion. I always remember a conversation that I had with a girl that I used to work with, because I started to ask her, like, I used to like flirt with her a little bit, not because I wanted something with her, just because of basically the nature that I have when I work with women that close. We used to spend a bunch of time together because of our shifts that used to be the same. And I started to like ask her, because she was a little bit bitchy as well. I was asking her why people in the island were so like all with each other, because I didn't see that much that sense of like family and brotherhood and fraternity, like union between the people, even if they were like in a very small country. I used to see, like, for example, like racism between them, between blacks and Indians, and even between black people and black people for who was like darker. I know it may sound like a joke, but that was the reality in there. I'm not joking. So she said that that was true, but it had a reason for it. And she started to tell a story. Imagine a daughter and a father. The daughter doesn't have a good relationship with her dad. All their life, they don't speak to each other. They have like a lot of resentment and even hate at some point. As soon as the daughter can, she go out of the home and make a life for herself, and they never see each other again. One day the father dies, and when the funeral starts to happen, the daughter comes in and cries a lot in the graveyard of the father. That's how true love works. That doesn't matter if you're hurt and you treat bad each other for life, because there's still like a sense of attachment to that person, and that's love. That may sound poetic for her while she was telling all that, but for me it sounded in the moment like, holy crap, so you guys are telling me that you treat each other like garbage for your whole lives, with the excuse that you guys still have like some kind of weird and pathetic and toxic love inside of you all. So that's how you guys see it. After listening to that, I was shocked how that could be the example of love for someone. But after looking at her life, I was realizing why that was a thing for her. It's not like I knew about her life that much, but it didn't look like her parents were supporting her. And she had a daughter, and I saw her like asking for money to a couple of my friends in there. And this may be only one example, but that whole perception of how relationships and love works was very different from the way that I see it. In Trinidad, for example, there's like a big culture of parties and nightclubs, and that's why that's one of the most successful businesses in there. Weed is legal, and that's why everyone in there just smokes and drink like it's nothing. While in Venezuela, if you see someone smoking weed, you either call the cops or even just think like they're like junkie and drug addicts. But while there it is, you're not like very normal. It wasn't absurd to like take a taxi and and the taxi driver was there like smoking a blunt. Obviously, this is not the case for like every single one of them, but it's a big majority. Something that I realized from watching their relationships and also from the one that I was in is that usually girls get more in this boss bitch kind of mindset, like that is a frame that they usually try to play with if you let them do it. That phenomenon is not like originated from that island, but it is like one of the main cultural expressions for it. That's why singers like Nicki Minaj, for example, that is straight out and play like that stereotypical figure of boss bitch kind of vibe, and a lot of girls act like that in their relationship. That's why usually once a Spanish was dating one of the local girls was like that big bump in there, because we coming from more of like a traditional Catholic background, seeing those kind of liberal and bitchy ways to act and behave were, just a little bit conflicting. And this is because their culture have a different cosmovision, like a different way to see the world. Like that girl that told me that story, for example, of how she used to see love. That's her way to see how love works, when for me it is just fucked up, right? It's just too different. And not only different, it is bad. It actually means like hate, like totally the opposite from love. A next thing that I saw, for example, was a lot of women being single mothers and seeing it as like a normal thing. And not only because of the man was like totally disappearing, that obviously could be a possibility, but some of them wanted to like do it on purpose. Like let's say the man wants to still add something or put some responsibility on it, and the woman just doesn't want that. I'm not going to say that that's part of their culture because I may be wrong, but that's something that I saw. Like they didn't give that much importance to the figure of the father in there. So that's what I mean by cosmovision. And I'm not trying to say that they only have like bad traits, because Venezuelan people and Hispanic people had a lot of problems in the dynamics as well. But those are like the insights that stick with me the most. So yes, the culture and their religion can make a woman very, very different. A next lesson that I learned, this is a little bit more like primal and explicit, it is that the sexual attraction comes mainly from how much she sees you as the guy she wants to have sex with. And this may sound obvious, but a lot of people neglect that. They usually think that attraction in general, or even like sexual attraction, correlates with like money, looks, status, or those concepts that you usually touch when it comes to sex market value. But all that doesn't matter if in her mind you're not the guy that she desires, that she really wants to have sex with. I realized this with a specific situation when I saw a girl that I met. She was like pretty and sexy, one of these girls that you may call the unreachable girl. And I thought that she was only down to have sex or like get into relationships with guys that were like high status, guys that were really like Jack, pretty good looking, with some money, guys that in some way have something to provide, to bring value to the relationship. Well, one day she confessed me like, hey, I like this guy. And when I saw him, it was just ugly as fuck, right? Like the guy was absolutely ugly. Even if it wasn't only for the looks, the guy was a loser in basically all senses, right? No money, no charisma, no intelligence, no nothing. And I'm not trying to be mean with him, but it was one of those people, if you ever met a guy like that didn't have that much to, I don't know, like something to add. There was nothing for him that could even like make me say, oh yeah, this guy's a good guy. Not even that. But this girl that I thought that she was only up to sleep with high value guys was sleeping with this loser. But when I started to ask her, and by chance, don't ask this kind of questions to a girl because she may freak out. I did it because I have some level of trust with this girl in particular. And I knew that she wasn't going to like bullshit me in some way. At the beginning she tried like unconsciously telling me like, no, he's actually cute, or he's such a catch, or he's actually like a great person, he has this, he has that. None of that was true when I saw him in front. And one moment she said it, and that's when it actually made sense. She said like, he actually just fucks great. It has been probably the best sex of my life. And when she said this, it kind of opened like a new reality for me. She said this story of how she ended up sleeping with him, and from the whole interaction that she described, it seemed like the only reason of why she was having sex with him in the first place was only because in her mind it was like curious and interesting and maybe worth it to have sex with that guy. He basically sent her the message, I fuck, and I fuck very, very well, to the point that she actually started to decide that, and things just ended up happening. All this comes from charisma and the way that that guy was able to present to her, even if he was like an absolute loser. And this is why I want you to take this as big lesson the same way that it was for me, that if you're able to have enough charisma to lead the interaction to the point that the way that you portray yourself to her is a way where she would be missing out if she's not with you, that will make her feel attracted. Even if you don't have anything in reality, even if you're a loser, if you're able to send the message, the attraction is going to happen. So yep, those are my 3 lessons from dating in the Caribbean. And one last thing, being exposed to like more women and more experiences to different parts of the world made me realize something that I wasn't aware before, and that is that I actually want someone from my same values and my same system of beliefs to be with me. Because yes, if you learn the main principles to attract a woman and how to have sex with her in the right way, you're still gonna have a pretty good time anyways. It doesn't matter where the girl is from. But in a deeper way and in the long term, there are things that you're gonna have to deal with eventually, depending on the girl that you're choosing to build this relationship with. I'm actually glad for having the chance to experience all those things, because now I'm more clear in what I want for my future and the kind of woman that I want my future wife to be. I would love to be, for example, more with a Venezuelan girl that would have like a background similar to mine, with a similar cosmovision and cultural values. And this is not like I'm never going to be with a girl from another nationality. It's just that I now know that there are things that I can just share with girls from other places. While with every Venezuelan girl that I ever met, they basically went through the same thing, and it's really funny. We have like that thing that is making us to be connected in some way, and that's something that I value. There are other things that are going to be more valuable for you and that you really want to take in consideration. What I'm saying is that being women so different all around the world, it is worth it to take a moment to think which one is the kind of women that you want for your future, and depending on that and the experiences that you're gonna be living through your life, you adjust it to what you actually want. I hope this video has helped you, and remember man that if you're experiencing things like premature ejaculation, performance anxiety, and you want to accelerate the process for you to become a sex god, you can go and click the link in the description right now, and that way we can work together on making that reality for you as soon as possible. So besides that man, I really hope this helps you. I'll see you later.